So again, this is well, how about this? How far are we into this thing? Where's
I
the
mean, we're
48 minutes and 58 seconds? We barely have talked about Donald Trump, which is, I think, sort of a victory. But I think we got to move on to him a little bit here, because the Donald, as people call him, his court date has been set for his role in the January 6th insurrection attack onto the Capitol. It was set for March 4th, a schedule that could have a crucial impact on the 2024 race. The White House, and I know this is a lot of the things that they're crying foul about, is that it's the day before Super Tuesday, and during the middle of a presidential campaign, and Judge Chutkan had made the comment that Trump will have to prioritize the trial and that she would not change the trial schedule based on another defendant's professional obligations, for example, professional athletes. So if an athlete was charged with murder, charged with rape, charged with beating somebody, if he was playing in the Super Bowl 2 weeks later and it just happened that the trial was a couple days before the Super, too bad.
Right. We don't get that. We get a scheduling order. Like, we literally get, what's the scheduling order? It is the only things that change on that scheduling order is like when that discovery may be due, you may have to file some motions and you need extension, but that trial date typically doesn't change. And if it changes, that means that, sometimes getting closer to it, it can get, rescheduled. Not, rescheduled like 2 years later.
Yeah,
or
right.
even a year later. You're talking about maybe a month or so. Like, come on.
Yeah, Chutkan basically, she didn't laugh off the proposal to have the trial in 2026, but she, of course, said that is ridiculous. From the Trump standpoint, his lawyer said that going to trial next year would violate Trump's rights, noting the millions of pages of discovery material that prosecutors have turned over. Trump's lawyer, John Lauro, said this is a request for a show trial, not a speedy trial. Mr. Trump is not above the law, but he's not below the law either, which, you're right. But as the judge had said, that, this case in theory has been going on for quite some time, and you've had plenty of time to gather information. Now you have plenty of time to gather information up into March, and I am starting to feel better that we are going to see at least 2 of these trials before the election. So there was the other one wasn't the Georgia. No, not the Georgia. There was a one set in May.
Is it Bragg?
Isn't it funny? We can't. It's almost impossible to keep all these.
No, it's hard.
It's trials.
It's got to be Bragg, right? Because Florida's not doing anything. I doubt it. I was thinking that the other day. I'm like, is that at a standstill? Like, what is Cannon waiting for at this point?
Well, Cannon is as we know, she's a Trump-appointed judge. And
what is her excuse? Because Jack's not gonna wait. I know he's just being patient before he files some motion to get rid of her.
Yeah.
Because he really wants her to do something egregious is what he's waiting for. Because he knows she will. He's just waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. So wait, we have the New York, we have the one in Florida, we've got the one in Georgia, and we've got in Washington, obviously. Mm-hmm. I want to say one was set in May. We'll have to go back and look, but we do know a date is set for March 4th on this particular trial. And, things are starting to move forward. Now there's also, did you have anything to add before because it's kind of on the same thing.
Yeah. Keep on.
There's growing talk that Donald Trump may not even be eligible to run based on his role in January 6th. And once again, this is not growing talk.
Oh, Florida. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't even know she did it.
Yeah, it was
In
Florida.
Florida. Wow. Judge Cannon set a trial date
Correct.
in May?
That's right. Yes, it was set for May 4th, and I think so. I'm glad you said that because now it's starting to come back to me. So she set it for May 4th, and I think the thought process is that she wants to appear fair in the beginning, and then once May comes around, there's going to be delay after delay
Right.
after delay. So she didn't want to look obvious in
Got you.
putting
So
it
she's gonna
after the
allow
election.
like ridiculous extensions.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Yep. So that's all it took. It took sometimes a little spark in your brain get you
Yeah.
to remember what the thing was. But anyway, we were talking about Donald Trump may not be eligible, and much like the witnesses in a lot of these cases, a lot of these opinions, a lot of these witnesses are coming from conservatives, that are coming from Republicans, and a growing body of conservative scholars have raised the constitutional argument that Trump's efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election make him ineligible to hold federal office ever again. The disqualification argument boils down to Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment, which says that a public official is not eligible to assume public office if they engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or had given aid or comfort to the enemies therefore of, unless they are granted amnesty by 2/3 of Congress. So do you believe that that criteria has been met?
Uh yeah, I mean, yeah, but what does that mean? Like he's not gonna not run. He shouldn't be
Well, it's
running.
not a matter of not running. So what they're talking about is that there are states that could, based on this information, they're talking
Right.
about states keeping him off the ballot.
Right.
Now, of course, that's going to lead to lawsuits.
Right.
So if you have some blue states that say we're not putting him on the ballot, that leads to lawsuits. We go to the Supreme Court, which is probably inevitably going to wind up there.
Right. Right.
And then we find that out. If red
Right.
states put him on the ballot, it could be sued to say that he should not be on the ballot. Again, we go through this. So what you're saying is probably right. Are they actually going to go through all this to make a point? Are they going to go through this? Because you and I have talked about this before. At the end of the day, I think Democrats, Joe Biden, all these guys are begging for Donald Trump to be the
Right.
guy on the ballot. They
Exactly. They're
want
not
him.
right. Right.
I mean, it's pretty clear. I saw there was a good tweet by George Takei, who used to be on Star
Yeah.
Trek, a Star
Yeah.
Trek
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah.
And he made a point where he said, when people ask, why don't you want Joe Biden on the ballot? It's because he's old. Why don't you want Donald Trump on the ballot? It's because he's a criminal, because he's got multiple, so
Right.
there's a huge difference as to why people don't want their candidate on the ballot. So when you
Right.
ask, oh, America's sick of these two, they don't want, I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's because Joe Biden's old. And that's what
Right.
it comes down to. If you
Right.
looked at what he's accomplished so far, again, please show me a president that has more accomplishments under his belt in 2 years than any other president that I've seen. I mean,
Yeah.
again, he's not the guy that if a tragedy happens or anything like that, he's not going to be the first guy you pick. We're going to pick Obama. We're going to pick Clinton. We're going to pick, because they know how to connect to the voter. And I truly do believe Biden does too, especially when he's on his game. But
Right.
one little stumble, even the most diehard of Democrat could go, oh God, Joe, duh.
Yeah. I mean, and he looks old, right? Like
Yeah.
Trump is only 3 years younger, but I just think Biden really looks like somebody's old grandpa. And I think that's what's throwing the folks off. Like maybe if he's fatter, more filled out, they wouldn't say it that much. But he just really looks old. But
Yeah.
we
And by the way,
say it.
speaking of fatter, we have something to talk about a little later.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And Donald Trump, even though he is old, he's kooky. I mean, he might seem a little bit more, not as, what's the word?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. Like Donald
But
Trump,
he's not either. You're right.
he takes his time going downstairs.
Yeah.
He's not running anywhere. He sweats like an animal. Like,
Yeah, he
so
does.
he's just more filled out. Like, it just, when people are more filled out, they don't look as old.
Right.
When you get thinner and gaunt, you just look older, and that's just really what it is. But then again, Donald Trump wears a ton of makeup too. Biden's not out here wearing makeup like that.
Correct. Yeah. And
And
we might as well talk about it now. We had a bet last week on Donald Trump's weight, and we're going to say the same thing everybody else says. We're not fat shaming anybody. What we're doing is
No.
we're shaming somebody's
Yeah.
egotistical,
Yeah.
pathetic little brain
Yeah.
who cannot handle the fact that he is who he is and the world is going to see it. My guess is that you walked in there and said, you don't need to put me on a scale. My weight's 215. And they probably just said, we're not going to fucking argue with this guy. Just put down 215 so the world can laugh at him even more.
Yeah, so we had a bet. I think
Yeah.
I bet 289
You
and
did.
Brian did 303, I believe.
I still think I was closer.
Brian is closer because I think we're both wrong because Donald Trump is probably like 315, 320
Right. Yeah.
easily. I think the reporting is that they had actually sent that paperwork out, eye color hair, to his people prior to. So he didn't even do it there. They had already sent it because it had accidentally gotten filed on the docket, that information prior to him being booked. So like that typed up information had gotten filed by accident, and then they had to pull it back down and file it with the rest of the booking information.
That I did not. Yeah, that I did not see.
I
I don't ever recall hearing the description of somebody's hair color as strawberry. But whatever.
Strawberry blonde,
I mean,
Clint
listen,
Eastwood type,
he can say his height, he can say his weight. By the way, Rudy Giuliani came in at, I think it was like 5'9", 5'10", and 230. He looks substantially bigger than Rudy Giuliani.
But Dwayne Wade
Right.
is 6'4" at 220 pounds.
Yep.
So how is Donald Trump 6'3" and 215?
The funny thing is that literally after that came out, there were so many comparisons to professional athletes. And by the way, I don't know if you knew, and maybe we shouldn't be talking trash about Donald Trump because he is an unbelievable athlete, according to him. He just won a big golf tournament, he said.
Oh, the one he cheated at?
But he says he couldn't have cheated. And the reason why is because Secret Service is around. They see everything. And he says, I don't know. I'm just a great golfer / athlete.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. It's pathetic. It really is sad and pathetic that he's got to go on there and just basically tell everybody, I'm this unbelievable athlete. I just won my club championship. There was a story that came out not too long ago, too, that he was in another one of his club championships and he missed the first round of the tournament. So it's a 4-round tournament. And in order to win, you have to play all 4 rounds and then add up your score, and whoever has the lowest score in golf wins. Well, he missed the first round, came and played the last 3 rounds. And then when the people came in, they saw that he was up top and they're like, well, how did he win? He said that I played the course a few days ago and I had such a great round that I'm counting that as my score.
I don't understand how these people are so enamored and
I don't either.
Around him. He's not even like rich with liquid cash. Like he's just loan after like.
Yeah.
I don't get it anymore. Like, what is it anymore? Like, okay, back in the day, but what is it now? He's just an old, shriveled, lying, cheating, 91 counts, indicted ex-president sticky finger. Like, what is it?
Well, obviously, I think the only answer is it appeals to senses that obviously do not appeal to you or I or logistical normal people. But yeah, it's pretty, I don't know. And there are reports that people say when you are one-on-one with him, when you're around, he could be charming, he could be all this stuff. But again, I think there's a lot of people who they get, I don't know if it's starstruck, I don't know if, and they just, yeah, and it's part of that thing. But I could be on an elevator with Donald Trump or be in a 1-hour meeting with him. I guarantee you I don't come out of there going, you know what, that guy's not that bad.
Right. He's charming.
Yeah. Even if he was charming for the full hour, afterwards I'd be like, I'm not falling for that bullshit.
Charming. He talks about himself every minute. This is a guy that has to win. This is a guy that he's getting fingerprinted and booked and concerned about what his weight and hair color is.
Lana, we hear him on secret recordings. And every time it's a secret recording, it's about how cool, hey, look how cool that I've got these top secret documents and look how cool I am. And you're right. It's all about him every single time. And I would just be like, oh my God, get me the fuck out of here.
And that's probably what they say behind his back. Like, fuck, why do we play golf with this motherfucker? Like free coats? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Maybe I get the less educated people. And again, I don't want to beat up on people who are low, just because you're, maybe you don't have the highest extent of education doesn't mean you're stupid. I know a lot of people, who never went to college or, maybe even didn't graduate high school who are extremely bright. But the reason why they're extremely bright is because they took the time to learn, things that they may not have learned in school or in college or whatever the case is. But there is a large section of the country who does not take that time. And they're happy to, and part of it too is you're on Twitter, and I know you probably have way more interaction than I do. But if you listen to the comebacks of the people who side with Donald Trump, it's not even worth responding to. It's just so goofy. Like I'm getting things like, oh, go get the shot and wear a mask, you pussy. And I'm just like, what? That's your comeback? Yeah. Wear a mask and get the shot?
Yeah. I hear Democrats murdered Martin Luther King. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And
well, they also Democrats were the ones with slaves and the Republicans are the ones who weren't racist because they were